ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Namaskar, my dear friends. This is sixth video on the sayings of Swami Ramdas of Aanandasram, Kanagad, Kerala. Swami Ramdas was an enlightened, self-realized and liberated soul. He was blessed by Bhagwan Sri Ramana Maharshi. After getting blessings from Bhagwan Sri Ramana Maharshi, he experienced Nirvikalpa Samadhi, Sahaja Samadhi, and finally he got liberation. So I start the sayings of Swami Ramdas with saying number 314, and the topic is Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga means liberation in action. In this state, the dynamic nature becomes a willing and submissive instrument in the hands of the supreme power and will of the indwelling Lord. Saying 315, our service, whatever form it takes for whomsoever it is done, is always rendered to the Divine Mother. Saying 316, it is not merely by repeating God's name and singing His praises that we serve God. It is not merely by repeating God's name and singing His praises that we serve God. Every work that we do is His service, His worship, because every bit of our activity belongs to His Prakriti or will. So let us do all work as service or as an offering to Him, the Supreme Lord of our being. Next is Purushottama. Saying 317, Purushottama is manifest through his divine Shakti aspect as the visible universe and all moments therein, and at the same time as the changeless, all-pervading, inactive Spirit Shiva. Saying 318, by the will of Purushottama, the Shakti is even busy in the triple nature of work, creation, protection and destruction in the universe. Saying 319, the manifest is love and joy, the unmanifest is stillness and peace. 320, the external universal life is a huge game of change and activity having mainly three moments in it, executed by the same power of creation, preservation and destruction. Saying 321, all is God, both as manifest and unmanifest. Saying 322, self-realization is the realization of your immortal nature and your union with the Supreme Godhead, your actions becoming expression of your true and exalted being. Saying 323, individuality apart from or different from universality is imaginary. There is one life, one spirit and one truth. Saying 324, this is Ramdas's message for all. Realize your Supreme Godhead and enjoy the bliss and peace of eternal life. 325, Shakti is the universal mother that has assumed all forms of the universe and by the will of the Lord is causing all motions and activities in them. Saying 326, Shakti is the power that animates and activates all your physical, mental and vital movements. Your very form or body and all forms are her body and her forms. You are one with Prakriti, the manifest, and at the same time one with Purusha, the unmanifest. So rise above all forms of sight and mind and find your union with God, who is all and all in one. Saying 327, the all-pervading witness, formless, motionless and infinite is Shiva. All forms and moments are of Shakti. Shiva and Shakti are the same in the Lord, who is at once both and beyond. He is Parama Shiva. Identify yourself and Shiva, who is your Atma Swarup, and look upon all manifestations as his power and expression. Saying 328, the manifest is he, the unmanifest is he, motion is he, stillness is he, formless is he, the seen is he, the unseen is he. In short, all that is imaginable, unimaginable is he, and he alone, for there is none other than he, nor anything else but he. Saying 329, God is not merely a silent, actionless, invisible truth. He is also the active and visible manifestation. Saying 330, be ever conscious that by his will alone the entire universe works, and that you as a separate individual apart from the divine existence are entirely false. Although the manifestations are many, the truth is eternally one. Saying 331, you are as an entity separate from the all-pervading, immortal and eternal spirit of all life and form. Do not exist, you are ever one, and that cosmic and transcendent truth. Saying 332, give up the individual I, and God only is, and he is all. Even your sadhanas are not yours. Whatever one does is his act. It is the within and without, and everywhere he is at once the actor and non-actor. He is all. Now, journal. Saying 333. Niskama, selfless, becomes possible only when you have begun to experience the inner joy of Atma. Saying 334, when one remains in all conditions, awake or asleep, active or inactive, in a state of unalterable samadhi, this state, even abiding of perfect peace and freedom, is called Sahaja Samadhi. 335, the ups and downs in life are there only apparently. In reality, they have no existence except in the thought of the ignorant soul. So, saying 336, be impervious to the opinion of the world. 337, all difficulties that beset man in his progress towards God can be overcome by his grace. Saying 338, Gita tells you what you are in reality. It infuses into you strength, purity and peace. It is a mind of wisdom. Dive deep into it and you will come by the priceless gem it holds. 339, depend upon it that the body cannot drop off until God has fulfilled his Leela through it. 340, don't be carried away by the notion that it is given only to particular person to scale the heights. What others have done and can do, you also can achieve. 340, don't be carried away by the notion. Okay, 341, in the world, adjustment, cycle of change are the inevitable working of the divine law in nature. Saying 342, every bit of experience of pain, sorrow, loss, failure and disappointment has its invaluable use for the soul in its own onward march towards truth. 343, change is the law of nature. It signifies rise and fall, the twin aspects of the same moment, each aspect carrying with it the same sense of greatness or littleness. 344, do not carry yourself a fallen wretch while this glorious truth has his abode in you. Saying 345, don't make any plans for the future and worry about them, nor recapitulate recapitulate the past things and have regrets and sorrows for them. 346. Swimming on the surface, holding on to the external proofs without aspiring to dive down to the bottom. You can give us only a hazy and imperfect vision of the truth that is the source of all life and manifestation. Saying 347. Since the Almighty Truth, that is absolute power, peace, and bliss, is overdwelling within our hearts, to feel that we are weak and miserable is to ignore the truth. Be a hero in the strife, bravely face the petty storms of this phenomenal life. 348. Real poverty is the poverty of the soul, a poverty in which the mind is ever in a state of turmoil due to the doubts, fears, and cares. Saying 349. True, an ideal is not of any value if it cannot be translated into practice. 350. There are times when we may take certain happenings in our life to be jarring and therefore incompatible with His love. Here our vision of the glorious ideal gets blurred and our faith in Him and infinite love gets shaken. To say that He is our God, to admit that He is all love and that we have surrendered our whole being into His hands and still find faults with His workings and see evil and cruelty above us in is not consistent. The latter assumes that He is not God but a devil who wantonly inflicts pain and misery on ourselves and others in the world. Resignation to such a devil can bring us no good. Saying 351. A man may bring about any change in his external life and environment with a view to gain peace, but the experience of thousands who are wandering on the face of the earth in search of suitable environment to attain peace has been that they have failed to do so that way. The change must be brought about within ourselves in the inner vision. Saying 352. A truth cannot be untruth simply because a host of people happen to side with the latter and be the votaries of it. Saying 353. The love of books relating to God, devotion, and knowledge is helpful in our progress towards the realization of our true being, which is eternal bliss and peace, but to be bound up only by this pleasure without attempting to taste the joy born of the Atma by rising superior to the craving of the senses and the intellect is huge ignorance. Saying 354. To withstand the attack of the down pulling forces of the world, there is nothing so heartening and peace yielding as satsang. Recourse to satsang is an absolute necessity for a man who is moving on the path of spirituality. Saying 355. Give up repentance and regrets. You and universe are filled with God, the supreme essence of life. God only is and He is all. 356. In fact, until the absolute state is attained, the mind is prone to play all sorts of tricks on the struggling aspirant. 357. Honest doubt, far from being a deterrent, is an invaluable aid to the seeker after truth. 358. Do not any longer be caught up by the external forms and formalities, customs and traditions, dogmas and rituals. 359. There is nothing to find fault with here. God's work is always for unity, harmony, and joy. 360. Earthly honor and dishonor, present blame, loss, and gain should have no importance for us. 361. In the unimaginably vast and limitless life of God, countless worlds are born and perish. What then of man, an insignificant creature? 362. This life is splendid gift of God. It is not meant to be wasted away and be torn to shreds by one's dwelling upon unreal sorrows. 363. God is indeed kind and all-loving. There is absolutely no doubt about this, else why should He give us shocks and blows in the shape of losses and calamities and wake us up from the dream of a fool's paradise to the great reality. 364 blessed are we when God is in his mercy sends us calamities and asked with a view to lead us on to him. He is indeed kindness and love. 365 we become better servants of God when we are poor than when we are rich. Riches lead us away from truth. Saying 366 to grumble over our states is an indication of our want of faith in the goodness of God. He knows what is good for us. 367 one thing is certain, namely that when he has prepared an instrument until he has obtained the fullest service from it, he does not permit its breaking. 368 true greatness lies in a pure heart and mind. What does it matter to you what your colleagues or anybody else think of you? 369 in married life all experiences enable a man more perfectly to understand the supreme secret of life, which is the realization of his immortal nature. 370 do not think that family life is in any way detrimental to your spiritual progress. 371 do you think that your life is like a clock whose life is ended when its machinery is broken? Is there not something in you of which you cannot but be conscious that remains even after the body is dissolved? An eternal thing which is deathless and ever existent. 372 simplicity of life is a sign of real prosperity. 373 Grihasthashram household life is not an undesirable institution detrimental to the spiritual progress of man. On the other hand, when life is lived in its proper spirit, there is no institution more noble and more glorious than the married life. A man can make his home a center of service, radiating rays of universal love. 374 the kingdom of heaven on earth can be established only through universal love and service, brought about by harmonious working of different creeds founded upon equality and true perception of the greatness of all religious and their founders. 375 all the external changes in creation, preservation and destruction are the playful activities of Shakti, just as the rising and the falling of waves in the ocean are the playful activity of the ocean. 376 for Ramdas, Dattaram, Krishna, Shiva and all great incarnations of the world are manifestations of the same absolute reality. 377 worldly ties, far from being obstacles in the progress of the soul, help it an incentive for a quickly and easier march. 378 in this evanescent panorama of life, all things and objects are subject to transmutation and dissolution. The Lord alone is real. With him we are eternally united. Last saying 379 God is ever the friend and protector of his devotees. So my dear friends, this series of sayings of Swami Ramdas is over now. This is the last video of the series. So thank you for watching and listening this with dedication. And okay, dear friend, namaste. Please like, share and comment the video and subscribe the channel. Thanks a lot. Namaskar.